Hello and welcome to another team review. In this case, I am reviewing a random team that was used in a draft that my chat was just running. So this has nothing to do with the upcoming draft run, but they just did, Sergio and a few others did their own draft run just for fun. I don't know if they drafted emblems or not. I don't think so. Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they did, because some of these units don't have emblems. Alright, so to begin, here's Lear. Lear is a staff bot that can do much combat. She would heal herself or use a staff and cancer in position, give +5 damage. So Lear is a spur attack bot. Spur attack bot is actually pretty decent. I've used it from time to time. Now, staff bot that can't really do much. Yeah, you can see from the damage. So if this Lear didn't have access to like a good emblem to damage fix or good passives, this is a pretty decent build just to make Lear a staff bot that boosts damage. Now, apparently this draft run was pretty crazy. I've heard the people who participated in it talking about how that's really hard to beat, like chapter 21, chapter 23, and they had like, you know, pretty difficult time. So it's probably almost, I don't know that it's harder than my Divorced and Homeless run, but it seems like it was a pretty wild run. So you got Willy Glands, Folkvanger, and the damage is so low that all you have to do is staff bot. That's all you can really do. Alfred made him a Swordmaster to fix his speed. Give him speed trigger and speed +5. I did this on Ivy too, because he's doubling everything. Pretty high void. Gave him both Sigurd, Boots, and Sigurd. Alright, so this is a Killing Edge build with Georgios and Sigurd. I think you can override with Georgios because it's Lance. Sigurd is Lance and Sword. So any Lance or Sword can be used in overriding. Yeah, because you can override 11 Sword. You can override Georgios, which is a really high might weapon. So he's just like going for crits. Now Alfred does have higher strength growth than Lear, and if you speed fix him, he will be dealing more like damage than Lear, because Lear just is kind of fast, but not really like insanely fast like some of the fastest units. Lear is like high speed, but not very high speed. And Lear's damage is always low. So this is funny enough, this is a better investment than Lear. People don't realize how bad Lear's bases actually are on fixed mode. It's Bushin time, just the standard Busheron. So it looks like some DLC was allowed for this, so Edelgard was allowed. Hit fix Tomahawk to pick up kills and high void enemies like Swordmasters and Griffins. It's the build I always do for Busheron. He inherits Momentum and Canter for Chapter 10. That's interesting. Alright, so he's on Warrior, so it looks like his speed is good enough to double a lot of things, like probably like half the enemies in endgame. So he can just go for momentum attacks. Looks like the Tomahawk is crit engraved, so he has slight crit on Silver Axe, some crit on Tomahawk. The Killer Axe, I'm guessing he was experimenting with or thought he might run it, but then decided not to. And then also he has Longbow. And then, of course, with Edelgard, you can Houses Unite. Now, I don't know if he got Byleth. I think he did. Yeah, he has Byleth. Alright, so he can Houses Unite Plus, which is pretty good. So this build is basically like, you can Merciless, one-shot some things, you can roll for low percent crits, you can Houses Unite, you can Raging Storm. This is probably like one of the main DPS units. Let's see, give him an Unrefined Silver Axe. You can usually kill both worms and hold off backline in Chapter 11. That's actually pretty good. Alcris being a crit machine, Luna procs very often, Radiant Bow is useful early on. It became useless once you got Erica. So this is interesting. So Erica, I actually would have probably run Erica on Lear instead of Alcris here, because Lear has like 1 range and enemy phasing. Alcris, like 2 ranging enemy phasing is not really as good, and also Sieglind is something that could have boosted Lear's killing potential. Now Alcris can use Sieglind. His dex is 50 though, which is quite high, so he has a 50% chance to see a Luna per shot. Because a lot of people, when they talk trash about Luna, Sandstorm, and so on, they don't understand the probability math. If it's 50 per shot and you're shooting twice, I think it's actually like a 75% chance to see a single Luna. So that's actually very high. And then if you Brave Bow, if he Brave Bows with Gentility Plus and Lunar Brace, so if he's engaged on Erica, he will just straight up 1 round in armor. So this actually isn't bad. It still will 1 round a lot of things. So Dex +5 and Speed Taker. I actually don't mind the Speed Taker here. I feel like Speed Taker on fast units is a good thing. And this is actually the use case for it, because speed +5 can just be so expensive in terms of bond fragments to run on too many units that you do want at least like 3 speed takers. And this is something I've started advocating for on fast units. So they already double a lot of things. This is the key here. You don't want to throw it on units who are slow and they need the speed taker before they double anything. You want it on units who are already kind of fast. All right, so that's a pretty good one-rounding build. All right, then we have a Lapis Mage Knight. I've never seen her on Mage Knight, but I think she does have some magic growth. She was one of your few decent options for magic. She was really good. She did need a fair amount of investment. Natural speed made up for it. Consistently one-rounding all kinds of enemies. So, okay, this is interesting. He went for magic +5, which is 5k SP, I believe, and speed +5. So similar to, you know, your standard 11 sword build, you know, sword power. He has Bulg and Excalibur. Do you need Excalibur if you run sword power? Generally, 11 sword power, like 11 sword 5 sword power will one round worms, or wyverns rather. Against griffins, I don't think so. It depends, if your magic is high enough it can, because griffins have high res. So in the case of Lapis, like even with magic +5, I'm surprised the Byleth, was he not allowed to do paralogs, I wonder? His Byleth should be, she would be +1 more magic, +1 more speed if he did the paralog. And here you can see he's at endgame, so yeah, I would have done that paralog. That's an easy paralog too, unless they're only allowed to do so many paralogs maybe. But yeah, this is a serviceable build. It has enough magic, 32 magic. This plus Levin or Bulg will one round a lot of things. It looks like Levin was primarily used, and Bulg and Excalibur were switched to maybe to avoid breaking situationally, and Excalibur for anti-air. All right, Jade Wolf Knight was meant to be a meme, but it turns out Fate's engraving is really OP. Okay, and she could really she could not be hit by almost anything. High speeds because of Lyn. She's reliable. All right, so we have a Jade, a Jade Wolf Knight with just a silver dagger. Okay, but she's axe, dagger Wolf Knight, so she also has an axe, and she has Lunar Brace. Okay, that's interesting. So so Lunar Brace is good for player phase physical attacking because it damage fixes any physical weapon. It also gives you true damage, so if you attack like an armored, you will always deal something to them, and you'll also put poison on them. She has a hammer, Revanche, I don't know, Revenance +3. This has like crits, and then this allows you to dodge tank the Lucina engraving. Now, speed +3, that's not bad. So like, you can get away with like lower speed plus if you're trying to speed stack with Lyn, because you get +5 speed from Lyn and then more with speed taker, so you don't really need, like, you probably could even forego this, to be honest. 32 speed, then speed taking to 42 probably would be fine. You could run a different passive in this build. You probably would be able to get away with running a different passive here. Now this is only 500 SP though, so really it's not that bad. If you don't have another passive in mind, you might as well do this so your starting speed is higher. But this is decent. I'm surprised that the dagger isn't forged though. I'm guessing maybe resources were scarce. Maybe they tonic a lot in this run, so they didn't have the funds to dump into more forges. The true king of the run, he literally soloed a lot of maps. Here we go. Venomous +5, what the hell? Alright, hold on. Usually the same thing. This much attack, he was one-shotting worms with venomous. The idea of the build was to take all of Sombron's health through his 75% barrier. Okay. So after killing one dark emblem. So this build, now this is with DLC, but this is Lance Power 5, Weapon Sync Plus. Now his speed, it looks like it's like 30, probably like 33 to 34 with speed +2. And Venomous does hit really hard. It's like the highest might lance in the game. I see where all of his money went. All of his forge money went into Venomous +5. And it's Corrin engraved, so it can crit too. And then he can pincer attack on Brionac or Repisalis. Probably Repisalis. These are not forged at all. So 34 strength plus venomous plus 5 with lance power 5 and weapon sync. Now what emblem is he using though? Because how do you get? Is this just you're engaging on the Erica unit? Because if he was on like Sigurd, for example, I think he would weapons. I think Sigurd might actually be swords. I don't know if he's lances, but weapon sync gives you plus damage if the I think if the Edelgard is engaged, or if you share the same weapon type as the emblem you're using. So for example, whoever would have lances, I think it's Sigurd, but it could be swords. There's like a thing you can search to figure out which ones. I don't run DLC enough to know this from memory because I just don't need to know it. But this basically gives you plus 7 damage. So this is plus 17 damage. In addition to Venomous's high might plus his 34 strength. So yeah, this is an interesting build. He was soloing without an emblem. It's 31 defense, 18 res. He's luck capped, which is random. I'm curious to see how he would be soloing things like this with 30, because like 31 defense is not high enough to tank a lot of things. You're still tanking taking 20 to 30 damage per hit and 18 res. So I'm wondering how that was possible. All right, but this could one shot or like deal huge damage to Sombron through a shield. Okay, I picked up Zelkov. Okay, we have a Zelkov Korin. He wants to see how he compares to Yunaka. I was actually quite disappointed because while he could take any type of physical enemy, he could not survive enemy mysticals. Yeah, this is exactly Zelkov's problem. He easily dies to mysticals because he has abysmal res and his health. It's not terrible, but for endgame maddening engage, like some of these mages hit like 50 to 60 might. So 9 res getting hit for 60 might almost kills him in a single hit, and then if you combine chain attacks, he easily dies through core and smoke all the time. Yeah, so he just described what would happen. Yunaka also does not have low res, and she has the crit plus. So she's better at fighting mixed groups, he's better at fighting physical groups. Pandreo's build, okay, let's see. Alright, then for the build itself, it looks like he was just going for a void tank. A cheap avoid tank. And his damage is not the best. Without some damage fixing, you can see that this was just like maybe used to stall out maps occasionally. Pandreo's build was to cook up something. Unfortunately, I couldn't deploy him much during Soulmark. He fell behind. I would not have allowed him to fall behind. 11 sword. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, he's memeing on the Swordmaster. They always tell me to run Anna Swordmaster as a joke. So he did a Pandreo Swordmaster. 11 sword. I don't know what engraving that is off the top of my head. I don't run DLC, but I'm assuming it's something good. Sword power plus 3 reposition. Yeah, this is the issue with Swordmaster 11 sword. The base magic is so low that it's just not going to be good. Even on the highest magic unit, which Anna and Citrine are the highest magic units, it's just not going to be good. The base magic is way too low to justify doing it. The speed is good, but Griffin Knight is like the same speed, but higher magic and better magic growth. And Mage Knight is slightly lower speed, but way higher magic. So both of those are better options. So I can see why this fell behind. Sadal was free for everyone, didn't do anything outside the ordinary, so just Cancer plus. So Sadal just danced and had a shielding art, so standard stuff. I'm surprised he didn't get him quality time because it's pretty cheap to get. You just need Bond rank 5 unlock, I think. Maybe 10, which are both cheap, and then you get free quality time or free chip healing. But yeah, it's a dancer. Alright, back to the build. Risotto has surprisingly good magic growth. The only issue is he's kind of slow even with speed plus. However, despite that, he was doing lots of damage, Bolg and Nova. Okay, Spears, he's really good for staffing. Alright, so here's I got Risotto uses the female outfit. It's hilarious. Speed plus, Canter, Reprisal plus. Now with the health of 43, it's also sitting on 2k SP. I'm guessing he just didn't have Bond Fragments because he easily has speed plus 5 here. But yeah, 25 speed with speed plus 3. And this is a weight reduced Bolg. Though This should be weighing him down by 3, right? So why is there not negative speed? Oh, the speed plus 3. Okay, so it's just canceling out. Got it. Yeah, so yeah, this is like the issue with some units who have like lower build when you put them on like Mystical and stuff, and like Mage Knight even, where you basically need to have really high speed in order to double, and even if you run like speed plus passive, it just cancels out the weight of Bolg and Levin Sword. This is typically like a Citrine issue because she's slow and has build issues. People commonly defend her saying that, oh yeah, just do this and speed fix her. But her build is also a negative speed thing, so that needs to be addressed typically. But Staff Bod and chip damage is fine. And Reprisal, honestly, I'm surprised he didn't put this on someone else who could have made better use of it, because Reprisal is very powerful. Reprisal gives you a lot of damage, so if you have a high health unit and you get them to like half health, or like even like a 4th health, you can get a ton of bonus damage. Maybe this should have been put on Kagetsu. Now, obviously, Contract and Summon Hero and Freezing with Book of Worlds are great utility, but level boost could really help out a carry, because it's like, what, you get a kill and then you get a temporary level up to 3 times. That's pretty good. That's pretty insane. And then the reprisal damage, he could have stacked this on a damage carry, so I'm surprised. Let's see. Okay, despite that, oh, okay, never mind. Despite that, he's able to do a lot of damage with Bulk and Nova, despite only hitting 1 time. Level boost helped him. Okay, so he still was able to get Rosado one rounding or dealing good damage. All right, so that's fine then. Let's see. She was also free, so Saphira's free. Made her a Wyvern, have some flying in the team. She's the Roy. Use her to help patch up the fact that she's behind the level curve. Reposition help the real carries. Okay. So reposition, speed taker. So this is an example of speed taking on a slow unit. Now this still isn't bad though, because as long as she can get a kill set up for her, speed plus 10 if you're playing at a slower pace is way better than speed plus 5. If you're on a challenge run where you can't clear maps quickly and just like dive into enemy formations and just abuse certain mechanics and strong units and builds, speed taker could be better for slower play, because then you can be more deliberate in your setup. So then you get, you know, a unit with 31 speed instead of 26, which 31 speed doubles more things. So, and then also we have air raid. This build, would I use Roy in this way on this team? You do get them at the same time. He does give a lot of strength. I'm surprised Roy isn't in like Kagetsu or something. I mean, I guess the patch to get a Wyvern that's doing something to patch her. I'm surprised at reposition too. Like she's sitting on Cancer SP. She could have gotten Cancer. I feel like that would be better. I would rather have had a Cancer Wyvern. I don't like Wyverns and Griffins without Cancer unless I'm doing like some kind of bonded shield setup or I have like some serious support for my team in some way. So I would have given her Cancer so that she can do hit and run tactics, so that she can be on like the edge of attacks. If I was going to run a bunch of flyers, that's what I would do. Reposition is fine though, it's cheap, but he is sitting on enough SP to get her Cancer, and it's the same fragment cost. I think it's just bond 5 Sigurd. But this isn't bad if you want the reposition. And air raid, of course, can be used to boost your speed too. Then there's Veil. Useful magic dagger. I almost said MAGA dagger. She's a Trump supporter. She's free for everyone. So speed plus 5. Misericord. Karwenhan. Interesting. Alright, a Veil Thief. The speed is good. She can double some things. She can put in some work. That's a cheap build. Speed plus 5 though. Kind of expensive. Oh, she's on Celica as well. Celica. I would have made her a Griffin, a Sage, or a Mage Knight. She gets better bases on all of those. And then I probably would have, if I'm running Celica, I don't know that I would have gone speed plus 5. Maybe magic plus 3. I think that's 2k, isn't it? And then it scales differently. It's either, maybe magic plus 2 is 2k. But you could get away with giving her something else. Maybe Griffin Knight Sword Power to speed 3. That's usually my go-to for Veil, but if he wanted the Thief for some reason, I could kind of see it. So he just made her a Thief. Let's see. Last but not least, clan. Oh, he was on Kagetsu was on Ike. Okay, I was about to say, he's like, why is he just on nothing? So Kagetsu is on Ike. That makes more sense. He's an Ike halberdier tank. Now, halberdier Ike was something that I was looking at as like a Tamara alternative. There are problems with it. There's two problems with it, really. The first one is that you do not have Sandstorm, so even if you enemy phase 1 to 2 range, there really isn't anything he one rounds with consistently, even with Lance Power 5. Like, he'll one round, they will both one round like archers and mages, but they'll both kind of rely on crits or sandstorms or both to kill like higher health enemies if you're enemy phasing on javelin. Now, his build is not high enough that he can enemy phase on spear either. That's a 15 weight weapon, so even if you weight reduce it, it's still going to slow him down. And as you can see here, his speed is not the best. I mean, it's high. Like, this is on chapter 26 though. Keep that in mind. On chapter 26, he's like 30 something speed, so he would also want speed plus and would have to drop weapon sync very likely. So they would basically be running the identical build. He would probably be leaning into Wrath and crits. She would also have Wrath and Sandstorms, and she could also go for crits. But also, you can't get him Lance until post chapter 16. So the earliest he can get Lance is chapter 17. So he can't even be on Halberdier for a while. And his strength is only a little bit higher than hers. His bulk is actually better. Slightly more health, slightly more defense, slightly more res. And by slightly, I mean like a few points. But she can roll for Sandstorms on any physical weapon, which does matter because basically every single attack of hers, regardless of enemy stats, has like a 30 to 40% chance to deal really high damage. And when you add in Resolve and naturally high defense and the defense plus from Ike, your Sandstorms are hitting with the equivalent of like 60 to 70 strength, which is just insane. So that's why the damage is so high. But this would be a potentially competitive build to Tamara. But it does take, you can't get it online until chapter 17. And I know a lot of people like to say that Tamara doesn't get online until you overinvest in her or something, but that's just not true if you use forges. If you just play the game at a basic level, that's just not true. And I've proven it in multiple videos. But this build is interesting with Venomous. Obviously, Venomous is an extreme investment. You have to get Fear in A5 for that, which is not even remotely useful in terms of like the best use of your money. So this is not a good idea. But if you want to use Venomous because it's funny or you want to just like goof off and try something new, it can be decent. It's fun. All right, then for clan. All right, clan. He was one of my drafted units. During the early game, he was a really good carry of Sage with Marth. Once I got Byleth, he turned into Martial Master Bondage Shield. They could fight decently well. However, unfortunately, he met his demise on 22 because Flashing Fist. He takes 5 extra damage. He was doubled by a Griffin. Was he out of pulses or something? He let him die? You just let clan die? He just let his bonded die? That's kind of crazy. Flashing Fist, Speed Taker, Canter Plus. Interesting. So Flashing Fist plus 1 unengraved. I'm surprised he didn't have Micaiah engraving on that. I know it's been used on someone else, but I would have put that on someone. On who has the Micaiah? Who has Micaiah? The Avoid tank. If you're bondage shielding, I would rather have a bondage shield than a thief. It's just more reliable. I would have Micaiah engraved his Flashing Fist, and I would have gotten rid of. I would do speed plus 5. And then Lunar Brace, so that way he can one round something and reset his Lucina. That's like typical tech for Fram. You allow her to one round on Flashing Fist with a Micaiah engraving, and then she also can reset, or at the very least she puts something to like 10%, 20% HP with Lunar Brace Flashing Fist combo. But yeah, his health is low, so taking plus 5 damage. Getting doubled by a Griffin, that's expected. He's quite slow. He's not the fastest unit. You are speed plus 5 with this though. But if he would have Micaiah engraved this, it also reduces the weight because Flashing Fist I think is a little heavy. Maybe it's like 8 or 9 weight. It might be like 7. I could be wrong, but I think it's heavy. He does have 7 build though, so maybe he doesn't weigh him down really. But his speed does seem low here. Maybe this is before speed taking. But he should be like 30-something speed. And he can go for like slower targets to attack. He is on spur attack here. I'm guessing he didn't have Lucina equipped. But yeah, this is the team. This is for a draft run. So I'm actually going to be doing a draft run soon as well, where there's going to be 4 teams and anyone can follow along with using any of the teams. And we're going to be drafting characters, emblems, and weapons, which should make things interesting. We're not going to draft staffs. I think all arts will be like free. Iron weapons will be free. What else? Slim weapons will be free. Joke weapons will be free. And then we'll have to pick individual weapons. This will be weird. It'll be interesting. So that should be fun. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting team. Thank you for submitting this, Sergio. Thank you for watching this, everyone. If you enjoy things like this, definitely like and subscribe. If you want me to review your team, it doesn't matter what run it's in, I will do that if you are a channel member. But yeah, thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.